Hi, Sherry Dinkins again. Want to give you an example of a rough draft that was turned in this summer. I've blanked out the student's name and just sort of tell you where to go once you get instructors' comments on your draft. What do you do from there? So when you go into your My Grades and you click on the little header that says rough draft due by such and such a day or such and such a time, you will actually see a window like this. What I recommend is you can just simply look at this window and look at the comments and then go to your document and make changes. Totally fine. I recommend clicking on and downloading. Now there's a second place to download that you don't need to do. A download here will download your original document without any comments on it. What we want to do is have you use the download button here, which actually has all of the comments in blue, the helpful comments from your instructor. This student turned in his assignment in late. We had a really good relationship, so I was a little more direct about the whole needs a lot of work. I can't imagine I would tell somebody that unless I had worked with them, and been very familiar with them. So I do have some other comments here that are in blue. That can be a little bit overwhelming, and what I want to show you is where to go from there. So let's take a peek. So this student's document had a lot of formatting problems. He had used the heading instead of the page number feature. So the heading doesn't change numbers each time, which is very strange. So we definitely don't want that. There's also a lot of weird spaces in between. So I'm going to kind of do the simplest fix for this. And I'm not working on the one with all the comments because that's a PDF. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to get rid of this old draft. I'm going to go to my Google Docs and just start fresh with that stuff that he had for us, so that I'm not trying to get rid of weird spaces above and below, and I'm trying to get rid of the header that repeats on each page, and then I'm trying to put in a page number. So just want to show you kind of the quicker way to do this. So let's take a peek. And I already immediately realized this is not MLA formatting. This looks like it's APA formatting. So this student might be in sciences or medical or maybe business or something else where he's using APA for his other classes, and he's never used MLA. So he just simply clicked on the wrong button on the library, and I'll show you how to do that with the correct button. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of this type, and I'm going to kind of shake off the formatting. So if there's weird spaces or weird things that are going on, that's going to go away. I'm also going to change the font. I just find it easier to work on something when it's in the correct font and it's double spaced. I just feel like I'm kind of looking at something that looks closer to being correct. And I understand if you don't want to go that route, that's totally okay. I'm going to go ahead and indent this, bring back the top part, so at least I have the correct sort of, it looks more correct than it did before, even though it doesn't have all the correct stuff yet. I'm going to go to Insert Page Number. So I don't want to do headers. What the student accidentally did is he clicked on header, he put in his last name and a page number, and it just would repeat on each page. So if your document's only one page long, somebody might not notice, but it's not good practice to get ready for the argument essay or the narrative essay because you'll have the same habit. So I'm going to go to page numbers. I'm going to click on the simple one that puts the page number on the right-hand side. As my cursor is up there, I'm going to put my last name. I'm going to put a space. I need to select both. It's kind of hard to do, and you'll get a little more used to it as you do it more and more. I want to change the font, and then I want to go back out into the document. As I'm glancing at this document, rather than kind of get in between the words and try to fix stuff, I'm going to move his stuff down and sort of do the right step above it so I can see what do I want to keep, what do I not want to keep. So sometimes if you have a document that's kind of just not really where you need it, it's easier just to move your material down below and redo it fresh above it so you're glancing down at the old stuff and still typing it up new. Some people might even put a page break and move this to a separate page. I'm not going to do that. So what I did was I took the title of his article, I went into the library, and I went ahead and searched for it. This looks like it's from the magazine Kinesiology. He didn't even include the whole title, so I guess that happens when you're using the wrong, if you're using APA instead of MLA. It just didn't do all the right stuff. So when I'm glancing at, whoops, not one time that, so that's okay. When I'm glancing at my results here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the correct MLA formatting. So I've still got the library homepage up. I'm going to click on the title of the document. It's actually going to say, do you want to cite this article? My answer is yes. I'm going to click on that. I'm betting that he might have chosen APA, which is why he got the incorrect results. That's why it looks different than MLA 8th edition. So I'm going to use MLA 8th edition. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to his document. I'm going to kind of scooch that down just a little bit. I'm going to paste it in. So the only thing I need to change is put this in italics. The rest of it is fine. Now, and I'm just going to make sure there's a space there. Now I'm ready to start summarizing. I'm going to pause the video as I'm summarizing again, just because I don't want you to watch me read through the whole article. There's a lot of kind of concerns I have about this summary. And first, this article explains the in-game effectiveness of a NBA player. So I can correct it that way, but it's still a very short sentence. I'm not sure what in-game effectiveness is, other than it says it in the title. There is some good details here, movement, passes, and dribbles, but that object in the sentence is put before the subject. So it's a passive verb. So it's a little bit difficult to understand what he means because the word players isn't in front of the words movement, passes, and dribbles. So that's a passive verb and awkward and difficult to understand. It does say something about ball screens, and then he describes what it is. You don't need a comma there. And then he has kind of an interesting style here. Easy to say, they just pass the ball around when it's way more than to pass. So kind of a weird casual language all of a sudden coming in there. So not quite where he wants to be with being authoritative. He does have 1, 2, 3 sentences, not a very effective summary. Let's take a look at his other summaries. He says, this is a strong article. Strong? You mean physically strong? The article can lift weight? I don't know. In a very short sentence, he also then starts kind of going, it's absurd, it's outrageous. So very opinionated. We want to back down a little bit in tone. He then starts talking about billions of people, 155 million, 280 million. We don't want any statistics in our summary. So what my comments to him on his actual rough draft were, hey, let's take out all those statistics. If you want to say something like, there are more than 1 billion active users. I mean, you could say that to soften that, to get away from those exact numbers. But even as still, there's some problems with this one. And this one I think is 4 sentences long, so definitely too long. When we get to this one, the amount of men overcharged and incarcerated for marijuana is, it is not right. So I understand what he's saying. It's not right, but it's just awkwardly put. And there's some kind of, grammar problems there. And then there's the you can walk. So all of a sudden he switches to, from third person point of view, men, who, people, to you can walk into a dispensary. And we're like, wait, you put the finger on me? I'm not in a dispensary. Why are you talking to me directly? So kind of odd. There are there's an exclamation point. I can't think of a place where an exclamation point would be proper in an annotated bibliography or in an argument essay. So let's move away from exclamation point, trying to be really excited. Let's make the writing excited rather than try to just put an exclamation point. So I'm going to pause the video as I go back and read this first article, and then I'm going to put in a more authoritative summary, something that you might respect a little more than what we've seen here. Hi, I'm back. I probably didn't summarize this very well because I'm not very good at basketball. So, but at least we have correct sentence structures, kind of long sentences, 3 fairly long sentences, and that's going to help take up space on the whole page. So we have 1 full page for all of the 3 different articles. I did find that with this journal article, he yet again had used APA instead of MLA, so we're going to delete that. And I went ahead and pasted in the MLA version of that citation. And I'm going to kind of summarize this in my own words, just kind of quickly for you, so you can see what I'm looking for. So instead of saying strong, let's say credible. Some people feel like if they put the word authoritative or credible, I will mark it as being authoritative or credible. Not really. The article stands for by itself, but I'm just trying to think of another way to say strong without saying strong like it's lifting something. So article describes a number of teenagers who over 1 billion teenagers who spend an extraordinary amount of time online rather than doing something productive. He has something down below about it's addictive or whatever. So I'm going to kind of say that. I want to avoid things like 155 million people are employed, 280 minutes a week, that kind of stuff. And so let's kind of try to say things a little bit different. So 280 minutes a week would be more than 4 hours. That would be almost 5 hours. And yeah, it's maybe anybody who has a social media presence, kind of maybe it's for more for parents. I don't know. So I don't really know enough because I haven't had enough time to read the whole article in depth. So we've gotten away from a lot of the very specific numbers. The next source that he listed, he didn't put, so this is using APA again. So he did put the title in quote marks, so I actually didn't recognize it as an article until I went and Googled it and found it. So we're going to go back to the original article. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 authors. So we're going to need to create a citation for this. Since it's a news article, it's not actually on the database where we can click on the citation button. And even if we're using Google Chrome and there's a citation button that you've added an extension, it may not be correct. So let's do it by hand kind of quickly and see if we can get this to look right. So we've already got the title. Let's go ahead back in here. And dump that title in there. Of course, it goofed up my formatting. Whenever I paste stuff in, it goofs up the formatting. So I've always got to kind of go back in there and try to fix it the way I want it, because I'm the boss of my device here. I'm the person who gets to say what goes. So let's go ahead and get that. It's double. So I feel like I've got some other weird formatting stuff going on. Let's go back to this. Oh, yep, remove space before, remove space after. So sometimes when you paste things in, there's extra space added before and after. And I just went into this area and made sure to click those off. So now it says, do you want to add space? So we removed it. Now it's clean. It's kind of by itself. So I do notice that this uses a lot of upper and lower case. I'm going to glance at the other ones. They seem to have a lot of uppercase to start each word, except for small words called articles. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go ahead and kind of just start putting in capital letters where I think they should belong. And that will make this more correct. And we'll put the author's name here in just a moment. There's probably an easier function to do this. I know there is on Microsoft Word, but I haven't found it yet. My students will, they'll tell me where things are. Impacted by war on drugs. There we go. And I want to make sure I'm going to put this author's last name, and we're going to go back and look at first name, A-S-H-A-N, Sean. And then we'll put a quote mark, we'll put a period, and a quote mark, then we're going to say it is from ABC News. Now we're going to see if ABC News is owned by anybody. So I know this is kind of takes time, but that's okay. You kind of get used to it as you do it more and more. And it's from ABC News Internet Ventures. So one thing about copying it down here is the font's going to, whoops, oh God, I can't get away from those ads. It is going to kind of goof up my font, so I can copy it if I want. ABC News Internet Ventures. ABC News Internet Ventures. All right. So got that. I've got I want to put a comma as a pause. I'm going to go ahead and glance at what the date was. He already had that in there. June 2nd, 2021. I want to make sure. 21, and I want to put it in that international format. I want to go ahead and italicize ABC News. So that's the publisher. ABC News Internet Ventures is the sponsor. they don't get italicized. So we just italicize one of those. If there was nothing down below, I would just leave that off. I'd just be like, there's nothing down below. In this case, we did find that somebody else is the sponsor. I'm going to go ahead and copy the URL, and now I'm ready. So now I'm ready to read through that whole article and go ahead and write my summary of that. I want to make sure that I'm staying away from things like 21 or you know, kind of that. I want to do it in a more authoritative way. So I'm going to pause the video as I do a quick summary. I'll be right back. I am back. So just kind of cleaned up the summary. This news article describes a situation where blah, blah, blah. So kind of a little more authoritative. We don't want to be so pompous and stuck up that we're like, and I shall now determine. We don't want to get that high level of writing, but we don't want to get so kind of casual, you know, get through the day. We want to avoid that kind of wording as well. So we want to be somewhere in the middle. A mainstream standard edited English is what we're shooting for. So that looks a lot better. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this for now. As I was writing, my indent kind of went away. I don't know what happened, but that's okay. I'm going to go back up to my last works cited entry. I'm going to hook it up there. Then I'm going to hit enter. So whenever something weird goes on with my, and I'm going to show you that again, whenever something happened weird with my formatting, I don't want to go and try to indent this again. I'm going to borrow the formatting from the item above. So I'm going to hit delete or however backspace to get it up here, and then I'm just going to hit my return key. Now it's properly indented. I do see that I've got this link, which I'm going to break. If I was emailing the article to someone, I do want to have a link so they can get right to it. For a proper assignment for classes, I want to take away that link. So in each of these summaries, I have put, you know, who would actually be interested in this. And you can, there's lots of ways to state that can be nice. You can try out different ways to do it. And of course, our tutors in the studio can help you with that last sentence where you're kind of recommending who would want to read this. So right now, writing it this way has pushed it to 2 pages, just 1 page and a little bit, which is perfect. So we do want to make sure that this assignment is 1 page, 1 full page, top to bottom, or very close, or it can be a little bit over. I have occasionally had students who are way into the 2nd page or even a page and a half, and that actually takes away from the grade. So I know that you may be excited about writing about that article, but 1 1/4 pages is the maximum and the minimum is 1. So please keep that in mind. So hopefully this more in-depth video of how do I kind of get the formatting correct. Oh, I gotta remember this person has a bunch of friends. Et al. Gosh, how could I forget that? They had 4 different people on there. Laura Coburn, Jessica Hopper, and Allie Young. Didn't mean to take away from their proper names, but when we have more than one author, we use this format to say, here's the first author that's in the article. This one is Latin for, and all the other authors. So far it's looking pretty good. There's probably a lot of things I could do a little bit better, but just wanted to show you what do you do once you get those comments from your instructor. I would say, number 1, clean up the formatting. Let's get that first so you're not constantly distracted by things jumping around on the page, things being over the left or over to the right, or being single-spaced so you can't really read it. That's kind of the first step in my mind. The second step is to make sure the MLA or cited entries are correct. And you can go back either to a page here, if you're doing it from a news article, or if you've looked for it, if you've searched for your article and you find it, and then you recheck that citation or cite now button. Make sure those are correct, and then just work on your summaries. And notice that each summary is 2 to 3 sentences long. They need to be long sentences, so complex or compound sentences or compound complex sentences. So they're not simple sentences that are very, very short, which would actually maybe disrupt the reading. The person would feel, why are you talking to me like I'm stupid? So a longer sentence actually can include more information. If you do have a problem with run-on sentences, I know that's a common thing. I've done it, but I've cleaned up all my syllabi, so I don't have any more run-ons. Definitely check with our tutors in the studio. They're there to help. Thanks so much for watching this more in-depth video on what to do once you do get comments and you want to get to a better final draft.